Hello, my name is Chip Shear. I am an athletic trainer at University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, Susquehanna. I'm assigned to Warrior Run High School here in the north central region of Pennsylvania. I am very recently hired to UPMC Susquehanna, but I've been an athletic trainer since 2003 when I graduated from Lock Haven and passed all my boards. I also have my Associate of Science in Physical Therapy Assistant from Penn State University, but I've never used that degree. I finished it, went right to Lock Haven for athletic training, and I've been using that degree in my life since I passed my boards. I initially started working for Orthopedic Associates of Allentown in District 11, and then I moved out to Brookville, Pennsylvania, which is in Jefferson County in northwestern PA for 11 years. And now my current spot here at Warrior Run High School for UPMC Susquehanna. I'm involved in a few different activities. I am an official. I have refereed a whole bunch of different sports, as well as being currently certified in two PAA sports, USSF soccer, and roller derby, which can lead to many interesting topic and guests because I am someone who is known around the Mid-Atlantic for my roller derby career and a very good person for organizing tournaments. Now, my podcast experience. I have successfully recorded some podcasts with coaches at Brookville High School. We attempted to get a school program going with the coaches to talk about their teams throughout the season. We recorded one or two, and unfortunately, we couldn't get the proper permissions. So, unfortunately, that program died. I have invested in a Yeti microphone, and I have some of this stuff to be able to do podcasting with some help with the programs. I have also been on Facebook Live shows for my roller derby team to promote our games with a pregame show called Inside the Oval. For that show, I would be talking mostly like this about the upcoming game. I'd arrange guests from the other team to call in and talk to us during the Facebook Live, as well as come up with trivia questions and stats about the upcoming game. It was really fun. Those videos can be found on the Northern Allegheny Roller Derby page under videos. There is about 8 of them up there over 2 different seasons that we did the show pre-COVID. And then unfortunately it just stopped with COVID, much like everything else across the state. Why do I want to host? I would like to host because I would like to get into the podcast scene more. I have tried to dabble with it with other ideas and ventures with people from my old region, whereas I had an idea to do a podcast with a friend from Reynoldsville who is a men's roller derby player. It was going to be called Spaghetti and Meatballs because of the men's roller derby. No, I'm sorry. Spaghetti and Derby Balls. That was the name of it. And we were going to interview people and just talk about the different games that were coming up from around Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, the job move kind of stopped that, but the guy who was going to do it with me, he was on board and ready to roll. I also want to do it to promote athletic training. I've been in a spot throughout my whole career where it's been trainer, trainer, trainer. I've tried to educate people as to why it's not trainer, it's athletic trainer. And I have made strides, and I want to make more strides at Warrior Run with it. And I want to do it through the state by promoting the way athletic trainers are viewed as healthcare professionals rather than someone who just knows kinesiology like it was back in the 70s or so. I really want to hammer home the differences between the old way of doing things and the more modern way that athletic trainers are working in the healthcare profession across this across this Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. My vision. I have a few things written down here that have come to me as I was writing this down before I started recording. I talked with the producer, and you don't really want to change what's working. If there's things that are working, you keep it the same or try to do them. You might be able to tweak some things to make them slightly better, which is my premise for going into this. A very useful acronym of KISS, keep it simple, stupid, is a great way to start out and then eventually add on and not challenge yourself too much as you take on the beginnings of a project. I would also like to maybe try and do, if we can find out if the regional directors are doing any regional events throughout the state. I know I was a part of 2 or 3 out in Northwest region, to plug those for the upcoming event that is planned, either CEU or meeting ups for the athletic trainers. I was told that they do interviews with the Journal of Athletic Trainer authors. That seems like a great thing that I would have never thought of, and I think that'd be a great thing to keep doing, as well as athletic trainers with a story. A 30 to 45 minute podcast with the goal of being about 40 minutes with an athletic trainer who has a story to tell, I think can be very moving as a podcast. Also, some of the other things I thought of were the build a program. Like, talk to the people who back in the 80s and 90s built up the programs they have today. So one of the ideas I had for that was Mike Lukowski of UPMC Susquehanna here, who, when he started in the early 80s, it was him, one doctor, and one contract, and the program has built up to 26 athletic trainers over 17 different school districts. So to just hear his ways if he did it, and not just with UPMC, with any other program that has gone from one athletic trainer to many of them. One of the more ambitious goals would be for the athletic training month in March to try and pump out one podcast a week with different people, and definitely focus on the PATS pack and the PATS president about what they're working on during that month with the hike to the hill. And who knows, the Rotunda doesn't seem like a great place to record, but potentially finding a spot somewhere in Harrisburg after a hike to the hill to talk about what was going on, to pump that out, depending on when it is and what the schedules are for everyone's things. 2 random ideas I had to include as content just in case was Pinky's random review, where I figure out a review, say a bagel shop, every once in a while, or if my daughter just happened to be here, which probably won't happen, but Addison's artwork, and let her sit next to me and draw pictures, and then at the end of the podcast show everyone what she actually did. But I don't think that one will work out, but I thought it was a cute idea. Now my reservations about the podcast. Getting to the new guests would be something. I know a bunch of different people across the state, but even everyone needs help with finding new people. The bigger one I have is information going from a collection point and actually getting to the hosts, because there was one time I did email in or tried to send information in about being a guest on the old podcast because of my roller derby experience and no one ever seeing it. So I would definitely classify that as a reservation about the podcast. So the guest scheduling and when they're free to record versus everyone else's schedule, I mean, logistically speaking, every podcast has those kind of hurdles to try and get up and over. But I mean, it is a reservation about what can be and what could limit us as a podcast in this Commonwealth. And the other part of it is keeping it fresh. Like, how can we keep it fresh? I'd be open to feedback to make sure that what we're doing is good content and what we can do to make it better for each and every show, and making sure that we don't get too stale with too many JAT authors and asking the same questions that the same podcast just keeps pumping out with a different article each and every time. So I'd be open to stuff, and I'd be open to feedback and criticism, but I want a good podcast. I want to promote athletic training. I want to show the good things that the athletic trainers are doing in this Commonwealth. And I hope I get an opportunity to talk about that through PATS on this podcast. Like I said, my name is Chip Shearer. I would hope you liked this video, and I know we had a good conversation down at the PATS convention this weekend, and I hope I answered all your questions succinctly and thoroughly. Thank you very much.